You are about to join the recording of a live event featuring two acclaimed energy healing icons, Dr. Patricia Carrington and Dr. Teresa Lynch. Stay tuned to discover easy-to-learn, effective methods for healing you can apply immediately for self-care and to help others. Stephen Carter here, your host for the Energy Healing for Wellbeing podcast and for other shows focused on well-being. All of those shows are available at stressreliefradio.com, stressreliefradio.com. If you would like to reach me for any reason, email me at cartermethod@gmail.com. In just a couple of minutes, you and I will join the recording of a live presentation given by Dr. Patricia Carrington and Dr. Teresa Lynch. This episode features Dr. Teresa Lynch talking about the future of energy healing. Terry gives you easy-to-apply techniques from several methods, including the special way she used affirmations to begin her own healing from multiple sclerosis. She'll share how to apply an amazingly fast and effective method to release emotional issues called energy in motion. It's also known by its original name, emotrance. You'll hear audience members share their experiences of immediate change and relief during this live event. Dr. Pat Carrington was also a featured speaker. I'll bring you her presentation in another episode. Sadly, Pat is no longer with us, but her work lives on. You'll find a rich treasury of Pat's contributions to emotional freedom techniques, her own special method called Choices Method, EFT, meditation, and so much more by visiting her website, patcarrington.com, patcarrington.com. To learn more about Terry Lynch's amazing work, visit her website at terrylynchcoaching.com, and that's Terry Lynch, Lynch, coaching.com, terrylynchcoaching.com. I'll have both of these resources linked in the show notes. I'll also have the link to my final conversation with Dr. Pat Carrington, where she shares highlights of her life and her work, and she shares never-revealed stories and insights from her 95 years of living. This is the final interview Pat did, and I am honored to share it. I'll also have the link to the podcast episode for my conversation with Dr. Teresa Lynch, where she demonstrates specific techniques you can easily learn and apply. In addition, she shares details about how, as a medical professor at a prestigious medical school, she transitioned from believing energy healing had absolutely no value to becoming an internationally acclaimed champion of energy psychology and energy medicine. With no further delay, let's join this live presentation. I'd like to introduce our two main speakers this evening. Dr. Patricia Carrington has been a luminary in the EFT field for many years. She had a very distinguished academic career before that, and did a lot of investigative work, research work into meditation and some other things as well. Was one of the early adopters of EFT. She had her own meridian tapping method before that, and was very close friends with Gary Craig, and indeed was one of the very first master practitioners that Gary awarded that certification to. And she has developed a method called the Choices Method, which, in my opinion, adds a great deal to the effectiveness of EFT. I've used it for many, many years, and actually bought it very soon after it came out. I have consumed probably 100 of her audios. I especially like them when they go on sale for $7 a piece. But I've also, not to be cheap, but I've also bought the larger programs as well. She's been someone I've admired for many, many years, and I'm really pleased to have her. She received a special award from the ACEP, the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology Group, which just completed its meeting this past weekend, today, as a matter of fact. And they honored her for being one of the pioneers in the field and somebody who has really been a foundation for the EFT expansion across the world. We also have Dr. Terry Lynch with us. Terry is a master EFT practitioner through the AMT. She is one of the leading emotrance practitioners and trainers in the world, energy and motion, or emotional transformation, depending on what name you prefer. And holds a doctorate in physical therapy. She's also trained and certified in a number of different other methods. I met Terry in 2013 in a class conducted by Dr. Sylvia Hartman of the AMT, and what I found was that she lit up the room. So with that, I don't know who's speaking first. Terry, yes, I guess you are. Yeah. So let's welcome Terry Lynch.
So, the topic for tonight was the future of energy and energy practices. Isn't that a great topic? You and I were talking about that, right, Janine? What do you think that might be? What would that look like to you? Before I tell you what it looks like to me. What would that look like? What would you like the future of energy to be? Healing.
Mainstream. Yes.
Mainstream. Okay, so everybody, and in fact, it's in the schools. The teachers start the day out with maybe some things, energy exercises, and then tapping before a test. And like I tap with my teenagers, even though I'm really anxious about taking that test, grades don't define me, my values do. That makes such a big difference for them. When they say, what are my values? I value my family, value friends. I did that with a young lady, and she was failing geometry. Her next two tests, she got 100. Cool. Wouldn't that be wonderful if that was mainstream? Right? So mainstream. So what else would you like the future? Because as we think about what the future of energy is, we are actually right now raising. You feel it? How many just felt it raise? Yeah, right there. Yes.
Well, if we're talking mainstream, then those kids who are so fortunate to tap in school have actually tapped at home with their parents before they even left home. That's really when it's mainstream. Right. Or, terrific. It's so funny. What is your name? Brenda. When Brenda raised her hand, I thought that's how high she wanted the vibrations to go. That's great, Brenda. So wouldn't it be great? And wouldn't it be great that they've already been through some energy and understanding the flow of energy in their bodies, that when they saw each other in the morning, they flowed. Right? So terrific. What else would you think? Yes. What is your name?
I'm Kat.
Hey, Kat.
More tightly integrated with Western medicine.
Right. So now we have a situation where Western medicine truly understands because they need it. So let's take that point of Western medicine. My background is that I'm a physical therapist, and I was teaching. I was assistant professor at Stony Brook University as an academic coordinator of clinical education. I was very involved in I was the chairperson of the schools for the Northeast for academic coordinators. I could rattle off a few more things that felt rather important at that time. And I had 2 small children at home. And if you told me about energy, in fact, who was I just talking to about myofascial release? I was telling you, what was your name?
Joanne.
Joanne was telling me about that. John Barnes way back then. Now this is 80s, you know. And John Barnes is this big myofascial person, and my boss, Jay Schleichhorn, when I was looking at John Barnes, he goes to me, "That's full of, you know." I said, "I'm certainly not going to be getting approved for that course." But I was like, "He's done, that's woo-woo stuff, you know." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And Reiki, I was like, "Oh, man, no, we're not going to do that here. We're serious. We really know what we're talking about." And I taught clinical medicine and therapeutic exercise, things like that. And how did I get into energy work? Doesn't that make you think? Mm-hmm. What has to happen in order for one to get into energy work?
You used it on yourself.
About it, and you have to want to know about it, want to learn it.
That's true. You have to, but I didn't.
Western medicine field.
What did Joanne say?
Western medicine field.
Okay, and what did you say, Brenda?
Okay.
That you used it on yourself, or it was used on you to help you.
Or somehow experience something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I was driving to work one day, and I lost sight of my right eye. It just started going and going and going. And I had been experiencing numbness and some dizziness, really ignoring my body signals because I didn't know that you had to listen to that. You thought you just had to override that stuff. So I got to work, and fortunately in one of the most amazing universities that had an incredible medical center attached, and of course I was able to get immediate care. And I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Yeah. So guess what? I had the choice between traditional medicine, which I was teaching and believed in thoroughly, and the medications, of course, were horrible. Or my sister hands me this book by Louise Hay called "You Can Heal Your Life." Cool. How many? Right? So I started reading that. And does anybody read the multiple sclerosis section? It's something like, I go to say, okay, what would be the psychological causes that would make me get this MS? And it said hard-heartedness. It said stubborn. I was like, oh, nice. I'm going to shut that book right down. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Because I'm nice. And, it took some real introspection at that point to realize I can be hard-hearted, that I was highly opinionated, that I could maybe not be nice all the time. And I said, well, she's the only hope. So I reopened the book and started giving an opportunity I reopened the book and started really putting some of her stuff into practice. And I took all the little sayings and I put them to music, So I took afternoon of fawn, da, 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 and I lost sight of my right eye. So she would say, I look at life with love and joy. So you can imagine, I would say it over 3 times, and I taped it, would listen to all the things that were wrong. I put her affirmations to music. So behind afternoon of a fawn, you could just imagine, I look at life with love and joy. I feel safe and free. I look at life with love and joy. And I do, different ways and different inflections. But I put that I listened to it as often as possible when I was falling asleep, in the car, because what would be my thinking at that time to create autoimmune? Would I have these beautiful thoughts like you're awesome? Or would I have attack thoughts that I'm not good enough, I'm never going to get the work done, I'm not, things are right, those kind of attack thoughts. So I needed to change my negative thinking into positive thinking somehow. And what happened to me as an academic is, lo and behold, I got better. And that was bizarre. So as a good researcher would say in any academic institution, what do you ask? You've got to ask a good question. My question was, why? Why am I getting better? So that took me into the world of Reiki and all the other energy stuff, and I get better and better. And gradually we moved into, and changing your environment was huge. And my husband, whatever the blessing was, we ended up moving to New Jersey from Long Island, and lo and behold, I got better and better, and started learning various techniques and put them into practice. And what was the most important thing I can tell you, for me, the most fundamental thing is to remind yourselves, and as we look to the future of energy, to get back to the fundamentals. Thought is refined energy. Thought. How many look at the work of Mike, whatever his name is? Thoughts become things. What do? Choose the good ones. Esther Hicks. You're having a little trouble? Go to the better thinking thought. How hard is that? It's too much fun. So I know I'm really having fun with these negative thinking things. Right? How hard is it to go to the better thinking thought? So when we're looking at the future of energy, it may be the simplest technique that you all have right inside of you. The better thinking thought. Do you know why? Because you can. You can think. You can think. So that would be one of the things I show up to you right now, because we're going to be doing two things tonight. I'm just going to show you a little bit more one technique that I'd like to bring you to. First is, of course, your thinking, because that would be what I would tell you brought me to energy work, is changing the way I thought. Right? And then, and doesn't that remind you of transcendentalism in the early 1900s? How many have ever studied Thoreau and Wallace Wattles, right? What does Wallace Wattles say? There's a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates the universe, and you can put a thought in that, and then you can create something. But competition takes it away. And then you can go read Wallace Wattles, which is really cool. So anyway, so that. But now, so you got the thought part, but how do you make what you have thought in yourself now flow and go into the universe with, how many have thought that's stuck inside of them? Repetitive thought. Okay? Right, repetitive thought, right? So let's do just a simple thought flow technique, energy technique. So if you're having a thought that's going over and over again, thought flow says, capture what that thought is. So let's just say I had a thought that I didn't like the life I was looking at when I had 2 small children at home and I was so involved with what I was doing. So I had this thought, I don't like what I'm looking at. And I could say, here's the thought, bring it up and around the central governing meridian, down and out. Have fun with that thought. Play with it. You're having so much fun listening to it anyway, right? So now take that thought and flow it over. So let's have a thought of, just any thought. Take a thought. We'll all take, I like myself. How's that? And just play with it. Take it from here, I like myself. Follow it up and around, down your spine, and out into the ground. What are you thinking now? Did anybody have, was there a space of almost nothingness? Yeah. And do you know what that space is called? The place where God can enter. The place where the universe and the thinking stuff is, of which all things are made. You have just entered that space. But you have been given the gift to think. So you can allow that space to help create for you, or you can continue on. But you have that choice. So I often think that, do you ever hear the term, freedom of will, free will? Free will is whether you like it or not. Life is happening. But you have the choice, do I like it? Or not? And the energy of that is going to take you into a course one way or the other. True? Yeah. Energy is only energy. Energy isn't psychology. Energy isn't medicine. Energy isn't work. It's fun for me. Energy is fun. And energy can take you anywhere because you have been gifted with the ability to take energy and put it into thinking stuff by a thought. So that, again, going back to that, you can take a thought now. You want to get out of a cycle of negative thinking? Fine, capture the thought and flow it up and around. Another thing is, let's take our hands. Put whatever those thoughts may be. I just don't know this stuff. I don't know. Everybody's doing this energy stuff. Whatever your negative thinking may be. Or I'm worried about my motherhood, my kids, my this. And you put it all in there. Pretend it's like a little snow globe. Right? It doesn't have to be glass because we're going to throw people. But anyway, and you just put it up and out over that back wall. Okay, great. Now listen up. Remember, energy isn't anything until you call it something. Until you call it something. And there's a lot of people that say, oh, energy, I work with a lot of massage therapists. I hear their energy. Because do you know what? They think can I touch you? I might get her bad energy. No. She's only energy. That's all she is until I call it something. So what I do is I'll show you a little technique I use, and I'm going to choose my friend over here, Judy. Okay, now I have a technique where you're going to start learning how to just clear a little bit of energy inside yourself. And this is the last thing I'll do for you. But as a physical therapist, and you can do this on yourself, but it works better when somebody else. Find a spot that's tender, okay, on yourself, and I'm going to do it on her. Let's see, we got this right here. Was it like here?
That's it.
That's it. How much is it on a scale from 1 to 10?
An 8.
I can make that a 10, do you? No?
You could.
No. All right, so now this is an 8. Okay, so I'm going to ask her, when you get to an 8, the first thing people normally do is cringe. Mm-hmm. But what I'm going to say to you is soften. Soften and flow. If that energy could leave, where would it want to go? Does it want to go down your arm? Does it want to go up through your neck? Does it want to go down your legs into the ground?
Down?
Down? Okay, so soften and flow. And as she's softening under my finger, guess what? My finger is going deeper because of her relaxation. Now, you were just an 8 before. What are you now?
A 2.
She did that. Now, I'll tell my clients, remember, I created an 8, and you went to a 2. You softened. You didn't fight it. You softened it and flowed. So as a physical therapist, I showed that moment where they have the power to do that. Now, most clients and patients will say to me, could I always do that? I've lived this long and I could always do that. All right, so now with the 2, I would like you to send the 2 through my finger and out. Now, many of my clients will say, but that's bad energy. I said, anything about you is love for me. Anything you send to me is love. Because who can transmute that? I am with a living human miracle. Could she have anything bad in my presence if I choose that? No, she's love. So send all that love to me. So that's number 2. Did you bring that down to his ear?
I don't even feel it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's gone.
And you did that. So when I first tell people that. So now you can now do that over on this side. Okay? Can you soften that? Soften and flow. And what is it now?
It's gone.
She can immediately do it. So the first part of teaching it would be fast, and the second part is slow. So now you can do that on yourself, but it's always better when you get somebody else to help, to say soften, soften, flow, because the 2, as we grow, as our electricity just builds and builds and builds. But then I translate that into, okay, so now, what all I want you to do is, and I would do this with my patients, is then start to think. Think of something that has upset you, and then I'd say about your family. You could do that with a family member as well, or something. Just think of something recently, and you don't have to tell me that. Joanne, think of something recently that has upset you. You don't have to tell me. Okay. Where do you feel that in your body?
In my heart.
In your heart. Show me with your hands. Okay? No one else could diagnose that for her. She just diagnosed where the injury to her energy system is. Okay? No one else is in her body. This is also I'm telling my patients, following everything other people are telling us. I said, is there anyone else? Am I in your body? No, I hope not. Then why would I know your pain? You know where it is. Okay? So now, all of you do that. Think of something that's upset you. Okay? Think of something recently that has upset you. Everybody got something? Show me with your hands. Okay, show me with your hands. Okay? Everybody has a place. Now give it a number to yourself. A number from a scale from 1 to 10. And get that number in your head of how hard that is, or murky, or whatever it is. And then just ask that energy to soften. Soften and flow. If that energy could leave, be curious about it. It's only energy, tell yourself. It's only energy. It's not good or bad. It's just energy. And if it could leave, where would it want to go? Where would it want to go? Just curious. Soften and flow. Taking a deep breath and maybe moving your body just a little bit. Oh, how good that feels to soften and flow. Okay, so now that you've done that, how many people felt the energy move? Did it move and it shifted to a different place? So how many went out altogether? Okay, who went from, how many people So maybe somebody tell me what their experience was. Anybody have? Yes, Joanne, what did you experience?
For me, it flowed completely straightforward out of my chest.
And what did you start at? A number?
7.
A 7. And my clients would say to me, wait a minute, I've had this kind of emotional pain for a while, and you're telling me I've been dealing with this so long, and all I had to do was say, can I touch my own? And all I have to do is say, soften and flow. I could just release it. Isn't that interesting? Isn't our greatest oppression when we oppress ourselves and we don't even know it? That's the greatest oppression, when we don't even know we're oppressed in some ways, right? But now you have that ability. How many felt that was a little good technique they can take home with themselves tonight? Soften and flow, all right? And so for me, the future of energy healing. Did I know what was wrong with Joanne? Did I even have a clue? Did I know what was wrong with any of you? Because you know why? In the end, you're all whole, perfect, and complete. Anyway, none of you are broken. You're having your journey. And there's an expanded universe seeking its way through you out to the world and to each other. And we're all electric, and we're all meant to be connected in some way, looking for that greater connection. So that's some of the work that I do, and I'm expanding into other areas called Living the Delicious Life, energetic approaches to weight loss. Because as soon as you, right, as soon as you get the lighter thought, a lot of things will get lighter for you as you find other things in your life. And I call that energy nutrition. You all are feeding me tonight. Conversation. And in this conversation, being fed by all of you, am I hungry? Now I'm so fed. I needed you, and I'm grateful. So that would be some of the work that I'm doing, where I feel the future of energy is going, is into areas where we can just flow our energy in a way, and that we also become aware of higher frequencies and the lower frequencies, and we can play them like music, as opposed to calling something good or bad. Because we can. Simply we can. We think. We can. Because we can. We think. Okay? So now,